receiving in this edition of The Insight former or retired Supreme Court Judge Justice AYAH ABINE, National President of the Popular Action Party, the PAP. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for coming to our home, and we thank you in particular because you've judged us worthy to be the first in your program this year. We thank the telespectators for listening to us.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, the Equinoxe team, and then to telespectators.
All right, you certainly listened to the President of the Republic on the 31st of December 2018 addressing the nation, and he expressed concerns over the plight of English-speaking Cameroonians and went further to say that the crisis that has been eroding the northwest and the southwest regions of the country must not continue, and his own way out of the crisis is military force. Despite the call for a political solution to the crisis, the call for general amnesty, the liberation of all detainees of the Anglophone crisis, and the demilitarization of the two Anglophone regions of the country, the head of state has remained firm on the implementation of a military solution to this crisis that has been deepening for close to 3 years today. And he said, if the pro-independence fighters, or better still, the warmongers, will not drop their guns, the military will be instructed to neutralize them.
The first thing is that I regretted that I listened to that speech. The second thing I can say is, if it were possible in history to efface certain events, that's a speech that ought to be deleted from history, from the annals of history.
Why do you regret to have listened to that speech? Why should it be deleted from the annals of history?
You see, the President of the Republic maybe forgot that he was talking as the President of the Republic. He did not speak like an elderly man. He did not speak like a peacemaker. He did not speak like somebody who is patriotic. He did not speak like somebody who loves humanity. The least anyone would have expected from the President of the Republic was to take cognizance of the suffering of the people, to take cognizance of the fact that babies are being born on leaves in the bushes, to take cognizance of the bloodshed. I mean, to look at the horrible hostilities, the horrible things that have happened to his country, and toned down. That's what we would have least expected from the president.
So aware of the problems on the ground, he expressed concerns over the deepening situation, and that's probably why he said it cannot continue. But the method to bring it to an end, he is choosing the military way. Is that the right path to be taken?
The speech before was in 2017. The president promised dialogue and said the government was prepared to go even further, to use his words. He has said nothing new this time except issuing an ultimatum. It's not patting myself on the back when I say that I saw this situation coming, because what we call Anglophones today in Cameroon were those who offered, they volunteered to join, in quotes, their brothers in the East, unquote. They were, all along, treated like a conquered people. I saw this coming, and at least 10 times I did publish that dialogue was country. In 2010, I came up with the idea of truth and reconciliation, that was necessary for Cameroon, for the survival of Cameroon as a country. Nobody listened. And then we often forget that the Anglophones came out with olive branches on September 22nd, 2017, and then on October 1st, 2017. They held olive branches.
And the peaceful protest that started with teachers and lawyers quickly switched to an armed conflict. And today, some observers are saying that if a father tells a child, stop being stubborn, stop committing crimes, stop making mistakes, and the child will not listen to the father, or the child refuses to listen to the father is going to flock. And it is in this sense that they think that the President of the Republic was, to an extent, correct in his announced crackdown on the pro-independence fighters, because he earlier said, drop your guns, come out of the bushes, we're going to receive you, we will protect you, we will reintegrate you into the normal life training. And he created a disarmament commission and so on. And he noticed that this call was not receiving a favorable response from the other side. And so he said, now it's time for repression. And he announced the crackdown.
Let me go back to where I stopped. They came out with olive branches. To refer to these same people today that they are warmongers is very unfortunate. It does not befit a leader. It is not presidential. If you advise your child, let me use the word admonish your child. That's telling the child, you are wrong, don't do it again. And he does it, you correct the child. When the child is crying, you call him back into your bosom and say, you've learned a lesson, don't do it again. There is nobody, a real father, who would kill the child because the child is stubborn. There's nobody, a real father, who, having flogged the child and the child is crying, turns his back. And for how long the child is crying, he remains adamant. There's nothing fatherly about that. If we tell the people, drop your guns, let us talk. And at the same time, you're using military language. I mean, you are bellicose. You are belligerent. Let me repeat what I have said all along my life, that self-defense is a universal value. I can't see you beating my father, and I won't fight back. You cannot attack me, and I won't fight back. It is a right. The olive branches received what? To go by the communique of the Catholic bishops. Gunship helicopters replied, and innocent people were killed. People who came out just to see what was happening were killed. I don't believe that that's how you correct a child. Or that if a child wrongs you, then all your children have to pay a price. Look at the prosecution of the war. It is now a war against Anglophones. I keep saying this. Today you are in red, they kill you. Tomorrow in blue and white, they kill you. The next day you are in black, they kill you. They break into houses, pull people out and kill them. These are things I know, I have seen, and I can recount anywhere.
And you were a victim recently. We'll be coming back to that shortly. Earlier, you were referring to the attribute warmonger given to the so-called pro-independence fighters by the President of the Republic, there is another attribute that is often used by most authorities, terrorists, as a legal mind. All these attributes, legally speaking, are they correct to be used to refer to some Cameroonians who have decided to fight for one thing or the other?
When a war has been declared, no party to the war can be termed terrorist. In warfare by international law, the law permits people to kill other people. You see, the meaning of war is that there's legal killing, that the law permits the killing of human beings. So long as the killing is within the international norms of warfare, often referred to as rules of engagement. If people are actually fighting face to face, you kill, you get away with it. If you go out of the rules of engagement, you attack civilian targets, like schools, hospitals, civilian targets, civilian settlements. You commit war crimes or crimes against humanity. No party to a war can be referred to as a terrorist. I've said this and I'm repeating without fear of contradictions, because the international instruments are there. Anglophones are not terrorists. Every Anglophone arrested today, let me use arrested in quotes, is charged with secession, terrorism, hostility à l'État. It is automatic, which is to say every Anglophone is viewed in Cameroon today as a terrorist. But as I've said, it does not exist. Take the example of the Biafran War that people just quote, on the face value. Neither during the war, some of you maybe were not born then, neither during the war nor after the war was anybody prosecuted. General Odemegu Ojukwu, who led the Biafran forces, died only last year. Nobody disturbed him because everybody captured at that time is treated as a prisoner of war. And by international law, a prisoner of war can never ever be put on trial if it is not for war crimes or crimes against humanity. Yesterday, America went to Iraq. They captured people they termed terrorists and took to Guantanamo Bay. Every American judge, every American court declined to hear a case against any of them because they were prisoners of war. Cameroon doesn't constitute an exception. So these are not terrorists.
Are you saying that all those attributes, given the pro-independence fighters, all those attributes, is a violation of international law?
Flagrant, not just violation, flagrant. Putting all these people on trial is in flagrant violation of international law. Arresting them even, what the leader of Nigeria did to Sisiku, Tabe and the rest is an international crime. And I keep saying that Nigeria will eventually pay for it. You don't return people to a war zone for whatever reason. If they are guilty of crime, they are put at the disposal of the judicial institutions competent. You don't send them back to the war zone. So all those terms are wrong, not to talk of warmongers.
And even the trial of Sisiku, Tabe, Mancho, BBC, and tens of others who are in jail in the military court.
Not only are they wrong, and you've just gotten the word out of my mouth, not only are the trials wrong, but they are not supposed to be tried by the military court. No, military courts are known as court-martial, and they try only the military for military offenses. Military courts don't try civilians. If Cameroon were minded to try civilians, they would have created a special court. At times you hear special tribunal for former Yugoslavia, special tribunal for Rwanda. They would have created a special tribunal. Trying them in the military court is another flagrant violation of international law. There are no two ways out. What I'm telling you here, somebody can claim that he has a PhD in law or even doctorate in divinity. He would tell you all the lies, but what I am saying here is sacrosanct.
Now, while the trials are going on for those who are still in jail, some have already been set free, and at the same time, others have been arrested, others have been threatened. If you don't drop your guns, we're going to neutralize you. What's your reading of all this?
Well, what can I say? Those who have already been convicted, as I've said, if they have counsel, it's a matter of going on appeal, and when the domestic remedy is exhausted, you go international. That is the way. It is a complete contradiction, in violation of the domestic law itself, when the president sets people free. He set me free, no doubt, but it was in complete violation of the law. They ought to file a nolle prosequi. The president, going political to talk of magnanimity, is doing that in violation of the law.
But he said to have used his powers according to the Military Court of Justice.
I have said that it is not so. Even in the military court of justice, or the military code.
Code of Justice. Yes.
The military code is, I have read it. I may not be very current with every detail, but even in the military court, you file the equivalent of a nolle. It is a nolle. In fact, the military code provides that it is the criminal procedure code that is applicable, except where there are exceptions created by the military code, or some other law. No. So it is. So he cannot say he's using the military code. All that is wrong. He has the powers to instruct the Minister of Justice, Minister of Defense, administratively to file nolles. First of all, if it is not a farce, the whole thing is farcical. If it is not a farce, you cannot be burning down homes. You cannot be asking people to lay down their arms. And at the same time, that is burning homes and asking people to lay down their arms and come to where? Or you are freeing people to go to where? They are being killed. You free them and they are killed by their doorsteps. Doesn't make sense. Even to an infant child, all that is just a farce, maybe to blindfold the international community.
Now, coming back to President Paul Biya's decision to use military crackdown to bring the situation under control, if the fighters refuse to drop their guns, what could possibly be the impact of such an announcement?
I cannot guess, but the little I can say is this. No power, no country, however powerful, has ever succeeded militarily. Even when you succeed, you still sit at the table to negotiate, to agree on the way forward. Why kill people before going back to the table? So the decision to neutralize, to use that word, it's, to me, diabolical. Because the president is the servant of the people. We put him there. The president cannot say that Anglophones elected him in some places at 89%, which is to say only 11% did not elect him. And at the same time, give the green light to kill the very people who've made him president. To kill because in this case, it is not, let me land, in this case, so many ambers, let's call them amberlanders, some people say, Anglophones, at times some people say it's pejorative. So many amberlanders are in the bushes, in the forest with their children. How do you distinguish a military camp from a civilian camp? So the war is against Anglophones' simplicity. It is very unfortunate that we can use such hard words as neutralize. That you kill your own people. Last night, I like the word which can qualify how I felt when I read that they brought in 2,000 Chadian troops. The military are quick to say it's a lie. Of course, they said it was a lie. Nobody was killed extrajudicially in the north, and it turned out to be true. That is 11%. If you want 89%, you mean 11% cannot be overpowered by the mighty bee. And we import mercenaries to come and kill the very people who elected you. I mean, except I've lost my sense.
Now, what should be done if the President of the Republic feels that his children, some of his children, are becoming uncontrollable? And so the only way to bring them back to the fold is to use force.
Jonathan, I've told you that amber or terrorist is not written on anybody's forehead. Speaking English, you are a terrorist. I am a terrorist. How do you distinguish between the person you qualify as terrorist and the ordinary man? You see, that is the crux of the matter. We have seen situations where people have been burnt alive in their houses, in their sleep. And what did the authorities do? They congratulated the army on their efficiency and professionalism. Which is to say, wanton killing is approved, or at least connived at, by the authorities. So when you say neutralize, you are saying that you've been doing a good job, do it the same way. In that event, who is that single Anglophone who is safe? That is on the territory and is safe. That is the question that the President of the Republic.
And some critics say that this is going to further radicalize the fighters.
There was a survey conducted by one human rights organization based here in Cameroon, or maybe abroad, and they found that 71% of the thousands of people interviewed in the bushes and wherever, armed groups if you like, said they have joined the armed groups because they saw their parents being killed, their brothers and sisters. They saw all their, that is all that they had in life reduced to nothing. And you know they are burning villages. Some are burnt to a frazzle. Not a single house stands. So they have already radicalized these people. By making that kind of pronouncement to neutralize. I mean, when you neutralize, if that word is taken in maybe Cameroonian context, simply means they can wipe out the Anglophones. Somebody can say that. And if I'm an Anglophone, if not of this age, I will not defend myself as allowed by international law. That is a question that any right-thinking person should ask themselves. Now, you tell the people, drop the guns and come. Their houses are burnt.
By the disarmament commission.
Their houses are burnt. Let me, just give me breathing space. Their houses are burnt. Their foodstuffs have been destroyed. Crops growing for the long term are chopped down. They are coming to where?
The disarmament, demobilization and reintegration committee is charged with the responsibility of receiving these people and, of course, reintegrating them into the normal life, taking into consideration all of those factors.
The government boasted that they would raise close to 13 billion for the internally displaced persons. The United Nations said they had more than 1,000, is it a million or tons of food, or supplies. Go to the field and see how many people have anything out of that. They go to the outskirts of Douala, gather maybe Anglophones who have been doing their petty trading in Douala and say they are internally displaced. And that's where they began. Are you saying that the bulk of Anglophones are in those outskirts? Go to the hinterland and see what's happening. We of AYAH Foundation speak, possessed of the facts. Go and see how people are dying. People are sick and dying. Women about to give birth die. Because you cannot. We've had situations where people have been removed from ambulances because they had bullet wounds or whatever wounds. Nobody would say those bullet wounds were necessarily from Amber Boys or from the army, but they were removed. We've had reports where they've gone to the hospitals and removed people with so-called bullet wounds and executed extrajudicially.
Right, Justice AYAH Abine, we're going to take a look at the situation on the ground, notably the recent attack on these residents in the southwest regional chieftain, Boya. What happened on that day?
I just returned from Bakasina, Cameroun, where we received gifts for the foundation, which had been collected at Douala on the invitation of Professor Campton Morris. I got back to the house here probably at 6:45, and since I had not been on the internet for some time, because that's where you get fresh news, I got into the library and put on the internet. Around 7:20, some people say 7:30 or 29 minutes past 7, I had a large knock on the side gate behind. My library is behind, directly opposite the gate. When I opened, they won't kill me when I open. Now who? She gave the name, a relation of our tenant, and a lady. So as she came in, Madame left the kitchen, joined the other people who opened the door because it was like an emergency. As she came in, 2 guys just pushed the door, flung my wife to the floor, and said, "All man down, all man down." So because of the pandemonium, I came out of the library. I said, "What is it?" One of them just came up to me and knocked me down at the door, at the back door of this very parlor. So I said, "But what is the matter?" His friend said, "Why are you wasting time? Shoot him. Why are you wasting time? Shoot him." People started crying. He said, "But you say we should be on the floor. We're already on the floor. We are already on the floor. Why should he be shot?" So the man who was saying shoot him entered one of the rooms behind in the boys' quarters. And I would remind, let me inform telespectators that we cannot mix boys and girls. So the children we bring, orphans of the war. The girls are here and the boys go to the Valentine Center. So many of us here. So he entered the room, one of the girls' rooms, and I took the money that I'd given to one of the girls to go to take to the hospital. So all of a sudden, the one who was putting me under, more or less screwing me to the ground, went back to the gate. And before I heard, "Pow."
The military tactics you acquired in
Of course, I mean, that helped me a lot because an ordinary man cannot crawl that fast. In spite of my age, I mean, I crawled. So I got into the bedroom. While the rest were still there, Madame entered the firewood kitchen and lay on the floor. So as he fired twice, because he had a local pistol, a double-barrel local pistol. So for him to load again, they were shooting from the front of the house. And since I was already in the room, I don't know what happened. I only heard people running upwards. So they said the two attackers ran and then jumped over the fence, fell in the upper compound.
Can we know a little more about the military tactics you acquired in Download so many years back?
In 1978, as part of our training in Enam, and that was a wonderful thing, a wonderful policy. We went to Ngandere for military training for 62 days, Préparation militaire supérieure, period bloqué, for 62 days. And they taught us, we had a wonderful head of a platoon, Mr. Anoma Eric, and he taught us, in such a way that at the end of the 62 days, the first, I don't know whether 3 or 5, the first top 5 or so were from his platoon. So he taught us all kinds of things. In fact, during that period, it's only his platoon that jumped from the head to the giraffe, from the head of the giraffe. Others were jumping from the shoulders. Only we jumped from the head. We landed with our sakado and got, gun. You hold a gun, you jump, you land, and then you get into the hole and then climb. But the hole is such that you must only put your hands up and climb. So he trained us so well that I still remember, and I'm still practicing some of the tactics.
Those tactics helped you to narrowly escape?
Not really the tactics. It is the grace of God, because the military intervened just in time. The whole thing lasted, by my own computation of time, 3 minutes at most. That's up to when they fled.
Before the arrival of the military, they destroyed some...
No, what happened is that they invaded one compound before, then got into the second compound. And the girl who was being chased was sent to buy drinks. On her way back, she saw them, beating a boy who had come to the rescue of the landlady that had first of all tortured and seized the phone from. So the girl was surprised and waiting. That was all. So they left those people and turned on the girl. So in between, one of them, that the 2 previous compounds, alerted the military, and that's, they came by the grace of God just in time. And what was all the better for us was the fact that the military didn't enter the compound to shoot. Because if they came in, they would not have known who was not, who was not an attacker and who was otherwise. They could have shot anybody. Luckily, they fled before they entered the compound.
And you said the military's intervention was timely?
Very godly. And then, 3 days later, that was on the 12th, a Wednesday, on Saturday morning, when we woke up, we saw on the pane of the window directly behind us here, 3 bullet holes leveled at the heads of people sitting. There is a fence, so nobody could have shot outside the fence without getting the fence first. So if they got under the window, it means that they sent the gun between balustrades, because there are balustrades in the fence. And I concluded that the holes were caused by bullets, because no pellet, in fact no cartridge for the local guns has only 3 pellets or 3 cartridges or whatever. So the 3 were definitely from, a military weapon. Later that same Saturday, the Legion commander sent somebody here for investigation, a high military officer who confirmed that those were bullet holes. They could not be from local guns.
And many Cameroonians are being attacked like this, particularly on a daily basis.
But we are just lucky. We are lucky. First of all, you know, they sent people in 2017 to kill me. When they found me with people, they pretended to arrest me and kept me in captivity for 223 days. So when the military officer asked me, I have made my statement, and with their own system of investigation, at the end of your statement, they ask questions. And he asked me, do you suspect anybody? I told him I don't suspect anybody under the sun except the government. He said I should explain. I said, first of all, when I suggested in writing to the President of the Republic that those who had caused the Anglophone crisis to escalate should be disciplined, they teamed up for my elimination. So there's no doubt that they are the people, continuing. Now that I've been released, maybe, in fact, they are continuing. There should be no maybe. I told him outright. He said, you should record. I said, yes. He recorded and I signed. I suspect only the government, which has continued to fight me till date. I keep repeating, government is owing me arrears of salary for 17 months, October 2013 through February 2015 till date. There's a law that when you retire, they put you on 1/3 of your salary until your pension is calculated. I've not had mine now for 4 months. My saving.
Why?
But that is the fight of the government, The government continues to fight me.
Necessary documents? Are there some documents that needed to compile?
The President of the Republic even signed a decree saying pay him so much a month. But that is not the issue. The point is that before that is calculated, so that you should not die, they put you on 1/3 ever before your pension is calculated. But AYAH is an exception.
Now we're going to take interviews of the week.
I want to thank God, the Lord God Almighty, and I want to thank the head of state, whom the head God has used to maintain me in this position, to renew his confidence in me, because this is the second time again he's maintaining me in this position. And I want to promise him that I will not fail him. I will deliver the goods. I will put all my efforts together to do just what is expected of me, so that he will not be put to shame, because I know people will be expecting to see me fail, but I will not fail. I will succeed, and so the head of state can be proud of me and know that he did the right choice.
Once more, this head of state has missed the train, because it looks like he's not aware of what is happening on the ground, which is very surprising for somebody who has the best intelligence in Africa. We have seen for the past 1 month that the IG, the interim government, is no longer controlling Ground Zero. And I thought that the head of state was going to put in place measures that would have enabled him to take over control of Ground Zero. But he doesn't. He is instead remaining in his position of head boy in the class, who is bullying at people and telling them that if you don't match, I'm going to sanction. For 3 years, he has been unable to bring peace to the Anglophone regions.
The crisis in the Anglophone regions, Northwest and Southwest regions. And by talking about it means his heart is open to this problem. It means that he thinks of these people in these areas that are suffering, because they are really suffering. So by addressing it, he's still telling those guys who have taken up arms, please drop your arms and give peace a chance. Give dialogue a chance. Give talking between Cameroonians a chance. Because I cannot come to talk to you when you have a gun. the members of the disarmament commission that were appointed are not soldiers. They are civilians who don't carry guns. And the ones in charge now to discuss whoever to see how they can solve this problem by talking on the table, not shooting at each other.
We have seen how this problem has brought the country's economy to its knees. CDC, that is the second largest employer after the state, is on its knees and needs almost 58 billion to revamp its activity. Palm oil is not in a better situation. We've seen that Brazil, Cameroun, is suffering every day. They are not crying yet, but we can see their vehicles are being burned every day, and people are being prohibited from consuming their products. So when this president is talking about the Anglophone crisis and say, I take cognizance of your suffering, and instead of proposing things that can bring about peace, he is in his own position, maybe because the thing does not touch him directly. He is in his own position. They're saying, oh, I have created disarmament commission. You are disarming people when, as you are making your speech, Mr. President, the governor of Northwest was being shot at. His convoy was being attacked by armed men.
The president has always talked about dialogue. He has never stopped talking about dialogue. Dialogue has been going on in this country. But you see, there's a problem about some of us Cameroonians, especially Anglophones. They think that some Anglophones think that there are more Anglophones than others. So many people have been talking, discussing with the government already. Is that not dialogue? Why do some people think that dialogue should be only between certain persons? You should understand that in the Anglophone community, there are various, they're not divided in various groups. We have those who want secession. We have those who want federalism. You who want the status quo, they want the to be maintained as it is. And you have those who don't have any opinion. So there are about 4 different groups. But the other 3 are talking. Federalists are talking with the government. Those who want the system to be as it is are talking with the government. Those who don't even have a group are talking with the government. It's only the secessionists who are refusing to talk. Why should they be refusing to talk? And they want to blame the government, that is the government that's not organizing dialogue. How can I come and talk with you when you're having a gun? Governor Faye Francis is a civilian. He doesn't carry a gun. How do you expect him to come and talk with somebody who's carrying a gun? He is free. He moves like normal human being, like normal Cameroonian. You are like me. You and me. We don't have guns. But you don't expect me to go and talk with somebody who's having a gun and staying in the forest. That you will notice the commission has created centers that if you don't want to be seen or heard or noticed, come quietly and come and negotiate the terms of handing over, the terms of disarmament and rehabilitation. But I've noticed that it's only a group of people who don't want to dialogue, those who want secession.
2016, the AYAH Council stood tall in the midst of the ongoing imbroglio. 2017, we started with realizing some setbacks. 2018, it became more serious that throughout the year, the AYAH Council did not collect a single dime on the global pattern, and which is one of the foundations of the economy of the council. The council virtually survived in 2018 thanks to subvention from the state. AYAH has been known for its excellence, and that excellent people do excellent things in the city. They pegged the excellence in the domain of academics. They talked about the St. Joseph College Sase. They talked about the first bilingual school, which was moved from Manowobi in 1963 to Moliko. They talked about the excellent culture of the people. They talked about the excellent touristic attractions. Everything that surrounds AYAH goes with excellence. And so you cannot talk about hospitality when some people are in the bush with weapons, guns and all sorts of weapons, killing, kidnappings, extorting, and all sorts of vices to their own brothers. That is no hospitality. So in the real sense of it, we should go back to what we used to be and encourage our people to maintain values of excellence.
Justice AYAH Abine, after many years at a very high-ranking position as Supreme Court judge, after retirement, you decided to go back to the courtrooms. Why did you decide to go back to the courtrooms?
In Cameroon, except people who are in CPDM and who are perpetually in positions of authority. When someone retires, the person is no longer in a position maybe to buy drinks for friends and so on. So people leave him alone, and he lives in solitude. In my case, it's all the worse because the government, I hear, has put me under surveillance. And many, many people are afraid even to visit me. I have said for all my 223 days in captivity, only one magistrate had the courage to visit me. Since I came out, August 31st, 2017, only one magistrate has visited me. The third visited me last weekend, French-speaking boy. So you find yourself alone. And most people end up going to their early graves because of solitude. That's one. The second thing is that I have the firm belief that knowledge should be shared. All you have as a journalist will die with you. But when you share, the knowledge survives you. I've gone back to the court to keep my knowledge of the law alive. Many people would agree with me that the courts have ceased to attract people. Because today, lawyers look more at the monetary aspect. They themselves will say pecuniary aspect than the law itself. So the courts have become very dull, uninteresting.
And especially the courts in Anglophone Cameroon.
Let's get back there and make the courts lively, share knowledge. You see, I laugh most of the time because we misuse words a lot in Cameroon today. Somebody who has never gone out of his country to appear in a court is said to be an international lawyer. We have a lot of pocket lawyers. We go in there, as late Justice Monongo told me in the university, let's and change the rules. So we'll get back to the courts to keep busy, share knowledge, and make people set up. So going back to the court is essentially to keep abreast of the law. By human nature, when you don't practice, you forget. It happens to everybody. But in the court, even what you forgot, somebody will remind you.
Are you talking about changing the rules? What are the rules?
No, I said, late Justice Monongo said we should get into ENAM and change the rules because ENAM was there only to brainwash people. At that time, so we viewed ENAM. We went there and changed the rules. And indeed, we changed the rules. We are not going to the court to change the rules, but to reactivate the court, to make the court more lively. The worst thing a lawyer can do, which in the normal course of things should lead to his dismissal from the bar, is to say somebody paid him to do his case in court and he comes to court and tells the court, I forgot to bring the file. People have to sit up, work in accordance with the law, because lawyers are officers of the court. That's what at times lawyers don't know. They are officers of the court that will help the court to do justice. Even though it is believed that the law is written across the breast of the judge, the lawyer is there to draw the judge's attention to certain nuances of the law. That's what I think we should be doing when the courts start operating fully.
Now, with regards to the top position which you occupied in the judiciary, how is your relationship with the other lawyers now that you have returned to the court to function like every other lawyer?
No, I have never had a problem with any lawyer whatever. Even those who sought to create friction by unnecessary pejorative statements. For instance, the troubles we have today, I foresaw them, close to 20 years ago. when I said the CIMA code or HADA were inapplicable to Cameroon, and I gave my reasons. Lawyers, as for AYAH, as for pejorative statements. But I took that, on the lighter side, on the jocular side of life. I've not had any problem with any particular lawyer. I am there only to make statements of fact. Because, as I've said, when we started claiming somebody as an international lawyer, who even in the country here maybe appears in court only once in a year, and he has never appeared in any court outside the territorial boundary, that person is not an international lawyer. I make those statements regardless of whose ox is God, because I'm making statements of fact. Today, for instance, somebody who maybe studied in America and is practicing the law is referred to as Cameroonian international lawyer. He's not international. He's practicing within a country, and international means between states or of nations. It's from the word nation. Right. You don't go out of your nation, you are not international.
Since you were sworn in at the Boya Appeal Court, have you had any case to handle in the court, any client to defend so far this far?
Yeah, we have a few issues which we are looking at. The courts are not functioning fully now. We have a few cases we are already looking at. Some of them may even be taken abroad, because going to Cameroonian courts here, the government is going to be both judge and party. You cannot expect any justice to be done. Right. So we have some which I cannot give details about, because first of all, lawyer-client relation is privileged.
All right, Justice AYAH Abine, I will not end this program without asking you this question, because it's become like a tradition in this program concerning our series on the way out of this crisis. Let me ask you this question again. Where is the door out? Where is the way out? Very briefly.
The way I'm seeing the situation, it looks as if Biya is not out of the way, this war will go on. The whole world has called for dialogue, inclusive dialogue. People, especially on the Amber side, imagine that dialogue means submission. On the other side, dialogue, submission. We are in a stalemate. But it is indispensable for dialogue. We decide whether to continue together or to go our separate ways. It is only at the table that we will decide. Who holds the yam and the knife is the government. It is for the government to take the necessary steps. For the Amber side, it is most crucial for us to hold another all-Anglophone conference. They call it AAC3. It is most important because Anglophones are made up of two components which cannot be differentiated. The Anglophones on the territory and Anglophones in the diaspora. We need to
take place has been postponed twice.
That one is not what I call AAC3. This one is limited to some people. Without the diaspora, things will not work. Without the people on the territory, things will not work. The diaspora cannot operate without the diaspora. So the two must come together and agree on what Anglophones want. If a few people go there and fumble in what I often call Fumban 2, we'll go back to Fumban 1 and nothing changes.
Earlier you said Paul Biya should step aside. Are you calling on him to resign?
It's not for me, if people have elected him, not for me to call on him to resign. I am calling on him either to heed the call for dialogue or to step out of the way so that They stop killing Cameroonians and destroying property. They stop retarding the development of Cameroon. Cannot hold here essentially because of insecurity. And if it continues, even the projected 2021 will not work. So peace is fundamental for every aspect of life. When he started his speech and said peace was fundamental to success, I got elated, only to wonder, minutes after, whether the president was conscious of what he was saying or he was just making some kind of recitation. He needs to heed. And as I've said, that dialogue doesn't mean that the government will dictate or AMBA will dictate. We agree or we disagree.
Thanks, Justice AYAH Abine, former Supreme Court judge on retirement now, and of course, National President of the Popular Action Party and founder of the AYAH Foundation. Thanks.
It's a pleasure, welcoming you people to our home.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Goodbye.